Technology almost got us, but we were able to save a couple of questions from John Fourcade. We're going to hear about that in just a second, but this is the Locked On Ole Miss podcast.
You are Locked On Ole Miss, your daily podcast on the Ole Miss Rebels. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
This is the Locked On Ole Miss podcast. I'm going to be joined in just a second with a few questions with John Fourcade. He is going to be back next week. We're going to have the full show as normal. Technology kind of got us. It just happens. Anybody that has an electronic device knows that, but we were able to get a couple of questions in and salvage. Basically, the first 3 minutes of the interview was corrupt. The last 3 minutes of the interview, he had terrible cell service, and he had difficulty hearing me, and I had difficulty basically communicating what I needed, but we were able to salvage a couple of questions. I did some editing and stuff like that, should that would happen. I'm Steven Willis from the Locked On Ole Miss podcast. He is going to be John Fourcade, Ole Miss quarterback and legend. He is going to talk a little bit about Tre Harris, and he's going to talk a little bit about Jaxson Dart.
Okay.
All right, John. Ole Miss has likely the best quarterback in the country and the best wide receiver in the country in your boy Tre Harris from Lafayette, Louisiana. He is somebody that is more than doubling up the number 2 receiving yards receiver in the SEC right now. He has over 600 yards. The number 2 is like a little bit over 300 yards. Tre Harris right now is just a machine. And when Lane Kiffin said in the preseason he was the most improved player on the team, we all kind of rolled our eyes. But that might be the case.
As far as Tre Harris, listen, we all know he's one of the top qualified wide receivers all in the country. Ole Miss has a top quarterback. With that duo, anything can happen. But you got to remember, Ole Miss will spread the football around to other guys. But having a Harris on the ball club means so much to the team because sometimes they'll double, triple team him and should leave other guys open. If they want to go one-on-one with Harris, they're making a big mistake. He's a top quality receiver. If he can stay healthy, he wasn't healthy last season at times, but I think if he's healthy this season, he will definitely be one of the top 2 3 receivers in the country. Ole Miss needs him. They need Dart. Just stay healthy. They can tear it up this season.
Talk about the defense, what you've noticed this far.
All right, I think you asked me about the defense. As far as Ole Miss defense, I mean, look, they haven't really played anybody, and it doesn't matter because you have to go out and perform each week in and week out. For them to be giving up, 20 points total and 2 points, whatever it may be, that defense is going to face SEC competition. And overall, in this defense, I believe what their defensive coaches have gotten, they're playing a lot of players, which is good. Now that the SEC is starting, you're going to go up against much quality players than you have seen in the last 4 games. So this is not going to be a cakewalk whatsoever. I know you're playing Kentucky and you're favored by 17.5 points. They have to go out defensive-wise. If they only give up 2 scores, 3 scores, whatever it may be, Ole Miss can definitely beat them by offensive strategy. We know what they do offensively. But I want to see a good performance by the defense. I would love for them to give up just 17 and under on this game right here to show you everybody want to know about the defense, not the offense, because they know that Lane Kiffin and them can do great offensively. What can they bring to the table on the defensive side of football? I'm very impressed with the defensive unit. By them playing a lot of players, it helps that defense because you don't have to rely on just, 10 or 12 studs. Now you can play a lot. I lost you.
Hey, NFL fans, you can start the season with a big return on FanDuel. It's America's #1 sports book. It's the place to bet on which side of Ole Miss being minus 17.5 versus the Kentucky Wildcats for Saturday's game. And the over-under right now is at 51.5. Ole Miss would have gone over that number by themselves in 3 of the 4 games this season. So when you get a hunch like that in the middle of a game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. You can get started with $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place your first $5 bet. That's FanDuel.com. Also, Game Time is the place to get your Ole Miss tickets. They had 67,500 in the stadium. for Georgia Southern. That's a stadium record. They're going to absolutely start shattering it with Kentucky this weekend, all the way through into a Georgia game that everybody is going to be at. They might break 70,000, and the only place you can get tickets right now is on the secondary market, and I have a deal for you. You know, there's not a bad seat in Vaught-Hemingway Stadium. We know this. But Game Time has it set up to where you can see exactly what you can see from that seat. They take the guesswork out of buying Ole Miss tickets with Game Time. And with this being the most anticipated season in Ole Miss history, I might even be able to help you out with tickets as well. So download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Again, terms apply. Create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONCOLLEGE for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. So it's really interesting. We talked with John Fourcade about the offense and all the questions that got corrupted. I wish you could have heard it because it was a really good conversation with somebody that has played quarterback in the NFL. The interview got corrupted and the cell signal wasn't so great, so we were able to miss out on a lot of really good stuff. But next week, John Fourcade assures me that we're going to set up time and set it up on the computer to where it looks really good and all of that. And we can make sure everybody gets all the John that they want at that point. So it should be pretty interesting indeed for Ole Miss. So we'll see exactly how it goes. Thank you very much for making the Locked On Ole Miss podcast the number one Ole Miss podcast out there. Your support means the world to us. Sign up for a 14-day free trial to become a Locked On Ole Miss insider. You can see exactly what's going on. What that is a text notification service that we let you know anything that is relevant that you need to hear about. We will blow it out over that text message notification, so you'll always know what's going on in Ole Miss football instead of hanging around message boards filled with trolls. So do that instead. Thank you very much for tuning in to the Locked On Ole Miss podcast. I'm Steven Willis. We'll see you tomorrow. Take care.